Okay, let's get into it. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is enjoying their weekend, their 3-day weekend here. It is Sunday for me, 7 p.m. here. Sun is still up, which is crazy. So let's get into it. We're going to go over the weekly outlook and then the pre-market game plan coming into this week. So you can see so far this week, I'm sure we've all felt it and seen it. Even though we ended the week green, still fairly a slow week. The overall market's stuck in a range. You can see here on the weekly time frame, we didn't do anything. We stayed in between 750 and 731. So the higher time frame objective I'm looking for here on SPY is either a break to either side. Break and retest under 731, break and retest over 750 for that continuation higher or continuation lower. And I will say this is very normal for most beginner traders. They don't really understand market structure, and that's okay, right? You're learning. I don't expect you to know within a couple of weeks or a couple of months or even your first year. So you have to understand that the market just went on a crazy rip for about 7 weeks. This is pretty much the first time in over a month that we've had an inside bar week. So this is normal. And then let's say the next week, the next 2 weeks, it's not our job to know. It's not our job to predict. But let's say we do this. Guys, that would still be normal. It would be annoying, but that would still be normal. We just went on this crazy rip, consolidation, next leg higher, next leg lower. So let's just keep that in mind. So that being said, and then coming into this upcoming week, it's a short week, right? We have Memorial Day, so markets close on Monday, and we don't really have, just like this previous week, it's not a heavy week regarding red folder news at all at all. So it's not a very jam-packed week regarding news. So what am I looking for higher time frame wise in the overall market on SPY? Well, now I'm looking for the break and retest to either side, 750 or under 731. It's an inside bar week. The same way I say, if we have an inside bar day, no matter what happens that day, technically priced it and move higher or lower. Same thing here for an inside bar week. On a technical standpoint, it doesn't matter what we do throughout this entire week. We really didn't do anything. We're still sitting in between 750 and 731. So if we want to see real movement here on SPY, we got to break the range here above 750 or under 731. Let's go here on the daily, and you can see, this is really just our entire week. This past week, we just consolidated. We sat sideways. The market did very well. You can see 731 is a very strong key level. We ended up getting above it. We pulled back. We held. We made new all-time highs. We pulled back again. We held again. Hammer stick candle twice. Actually, hammer stick candle off of 731, and then we pushed back up again into 750. So what does that look like? A range. So we pushed up into 750. We did not make all-time highs. And what do you notice here? A hammer stick candle. Sellers sitting at the top of this range again, which is expected. And what happened? We ended up pulling back down to 744. So pretty important week here. I would love to see us start off the week Tuesday, holding 744. That would be nice to see if we can get that push higher. Turning 744 resistance into support. That would be nice. But of course, we really got to get above this range here or over the previous week's high on SPY. So if we fall under 744, we can see our way back down to 731 here. It's already happened. So we've already seen sellers step up here at the top of the range. If we pull back here, that would be normal. If you go here on the 1 hour, you can see this is exactly what we did. You can see after hours isn't looking too hot. We've already fell back under the previous day low here. So that's showing me, this is a key supply area sitting up here around the 750. It's all-time highs. I expect some selling pressure up here. You know what I mean? So let's see what we do here. If we open up under 744, going into Tuesday, we pretty much gap down. The bears will be in control unless we fill that gap, but we'll be under the previous day low. We got back under 744. We rejected the top of the range. That's a lot of signs showing me that, hey, the bears are here. The bears are in control. So you can see here coming into this week, as of right now, doesn't really look like much. It looks like we're still sitting in this range. Looks like we're still sitting in this range. So we got to get above that 750 to make some new all-time highs to get that continuation higher. I would love to see us hold 744. You can see we just had the daily candle on Friday close above this level. I would like to see if we can start the weekly candle off on Tuesday, holding above 744 and get that move higher. We won't know until we know, but as you can see here on SPY, pretty much just sitting in a channel, starting to consolidate. Same thing here on Qs. Look at that. Let's go here on the weekly time frame. The exact same thing. What do you notice? Top of the range, bottom of the range. We didn't do anything last week. We held. But what we do know is when you look at 696, what do you notice on this weekly time frame at 696? I'll wait. You notice a very strong wick. That is very strong buying pressure. A lot of buy. That's 2 weeks in a row now. We have defended 696 very aggressively, basically two hammer stick candles. So that's showing me, hey, buyers are defending 696 very, very strong here. So what am I looking for going into this week? Well, same thing here, SPY. A range break to either side. A range break to either side. Can we get above 722? If so, we can definitely see new all-time highs. I would like to see us start a weekly candle above here and move higher. Or do we get a break and retest under 696? And basically, we're giving up this weekly double bottom. So you can see here I have labeled weekly double top, weekly double bottom. Which one wins? Do the bears win or do the bulls win? So if you go here on the daily, you can see I'm never going to force a key level. If a key level is not there, I'm not going to force it. And then how do you avoid, fake outs? How do you keep a high win percentage? Less is more. We know what the no trade zone is. I'm not going to take a trade in the middle of 722 and 696. There's nothing there. There's nothing there at all. You can see we're just consolidating. So what's the higher probability shot? You can see here 696, very strong. 722, very strong. Depends on how you trade. You know, as I always say, there's no right or wrong way to trade. If you say, hey, this market's still very strong, you can look for the pullback long. You can definitely look for the pullback long, bottom of the range, top of the range. Or someone like me, I want to put the odds in my favor, so I'm just waiting for, hey, it's either going to be that or it's going to be that, one or the other, but I'm letting my trade come to me. So that's what I'm looking for really on the week here on SPY and Qs. That's what I'm looking for going into Monday. Can we get above 722? Now, of course, you can mark out, your previous day low here, and see, okay, do we open under the previous day low? That you can see we've already gapped down here during the after hours. You can look for your pop and fade off your previous day low, to each their own. But on the higher time frame, you can see we were pretty much just sitting sideways here, which is normal. Like I said, we just went on a crazy rip for roughly 7 weeks. So if we start to consolidate, that's very normal here on the overall market. Tesla, what am I looking for here on Tesla going into the, as always, start on the weekly. So, and then, yeah, I know I may get axed on this. I do have whole numbers here. It's just me, sake of simplicity. On some of my other names, tickers, you'll see that I have, for an example, 400.85. That's just me, guys. It's just for the sake of simplicity. They're not magic key levels. They're not going to make you win more. They're not going to make you lose more. So I just want to put that out there. So nevertheless, what am I looking for here on Tesla coming into the week? Well, this 454, I broke this down last week on the weekly outlook. This is such a strong key level here. This is pretty much the high on the years, right? This was the start of the year. You can see 3 weeks in a row we rejected off of 454. You can see last week we pushed up again. Look at this strong wick off of that. That's showing me strong sellers are sitting at this 454. That's what we need. So on the daily, even on the weekly here, you can see we've already got that down. The break of structure in that trend line break. We were in a clear downtrend here on the weekly. We got that big breakout, and now this 454 is a very, very strong resistance level. We need to get above that. If we get above that, we can definitely see all-time highs. There's nothing in its way. Nothing in its way. Tesla did very good, I would say, recovering later into the week. You can see, at one point, if you see this wick, what does that mean? That means at one point, price was all the way down here, and buyers stepped up very aggressively and pushed this thing higher. So we need to get above 454. This is really the key line in the sand on Tesla. This is really one of the main tech names that's still lagging behind. AMD still making all-time highs. Amazon's already made all-time highs this year. Apple's still making all-time highs. SPY, Qs, Nvidia, right? Everything has made all-time highs this year except for Tesla. And right, this is one of the biggest names, a part of the Mag 7. So we need to get above 454. I would definitely keep an eye out here on Tesla. I would keep an eye out on this 454. If you get over that, you're basically getting new highs on the year, right? On the year, and you got a clear shot towards all-time highs. So I would keep an eye out here. It did very well breaking this downtrend very, very quickly, actually, which is kind of wild to look at on Tesla. You can see pretty much the entire year, for the majority of the year, we were just pulling back. We were just pulling back the entire year. And we've only had, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 weeks now of finally just getting that big break of structure here. And we got a strong push up into 454. So super solid on Tesla. A very quick recovery, I would say. Wasn't the prettiest year on Tesla. I mean, honestly, the first quarter across the board was terrible anyway, regarding, most of these names. But solid recovery here. So when you look at this chart, you can see 454 is a very strong supply area. There are strong sellers sitting here. So I would watch that. So that's basically the higher time frame objective and plan here on Tesla. Set an alert at 454. If that sets up, you can look to enter a swing trade. You can look to play the long game. But 454 is that key level to watch. There's no doubt about that. Now, what am I looking for here on Tesla? I have my key level here. I'm always going to go with the most recent key levels. I'm sorry, with the most recent price action. Sometimes the furthest I'll go back on the daily is 40 to 60 days. Right? I still want to work with the most recent price action. So you can see here on Tesla, we're expecting this 432, which is our daily level. Everything else is pretty much weekly, 416, 454. So what am I looking for on Monday? Well, very simple here on Tesla. Break and retest over 432 or break and retest under 416. Just letting my trade come to me. We're sitting in here, right? Longs over 432, shorts under 416. Very, very simple there. You can see, right, that's strong supply. But if we get over 432, we don't have a problem getting up to 454, right? So that's the game plan there on Tesla on Monday. Can we get over 432? If not, can we get under 416? If we sit in between 432 and 416, I'm just treating that as a no trade zone, and I'm pretty much hands off there on Tesla. So you can see Tesla does very well, respecting the key levels, as you can see here. Just waiting for the range break. Let's see if we can get over 432. This is also a strong resistance level on the daily. You can see strong sellers stepping up there. And then 416, you can see 2 days in a row, pretty much strong buyers stepping up here as well. So just wait for the range break. Let your trade come to you. Shorts under 416, which is the weekly level, and you're under the previous day low if that sets up. And longs over 432. You're getting a breakout, higher time frame key level, and you're above the previous day high, which means price is likely to continue higher. In between those two key levels going into Tuesday, that is going to be hands off for me in a no trade zone. Nvidia. So let's go here on the weekly. On Nvidia. So a little different here on Nvidia. Nvidia doesn't really have many weekly levels at all. You can see here, the only weekly level that we have here is just 195. Like I said, I'm never going to force a key level. So we only have this 195, which is no surprise, right? Just because it's still been making all-time highs. So here on the weekly, our higher time frame key level is 195. Now let's go here on the daily. Actually, before that, I'll stick here on the weekly. What did NVIDIA do this week? Well, just like SPY and just like Qs, nothing. We had an inside bar week. We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything this week. Now, I will give NVIDIA some grace because it did have earnings this week, so we expected it to be choppy and sit in the channel until after earnings. And guess what it did after earnings? Absolutely nothing. But we did finally give up this 218, but earnings really didn't do much at all. At least that we all anticipated for it to do. Didn't really do anything. So what am I looking for here on NVIDIA coming into this week? Well, can we get under, 218, 207? We closed around 215. We're sitting around that right now. If so, we're under the previous week's low, which means price is likely to continue lower. That would be solid. Or can we hold, 218 and see it push back up into all-time highs? If we do hold 218 and start the week off fairly strong on Tuesday, that's pretty much 3 weeks now, 3 weeks in a row that we have an inside bar week. So that's something to keep in mind. So really not seeing too much here on NVIDIA while we're sitting at the top of the range. Let's go here on the daily. And you can see just beautiful. 218, we broke that on Friday, right? This was NVIDIA the whole week. So very easy to not get faked out. Didn't take any trades, obviously because it had earnings, but it's in a channel. It's in a range. That's your no trade zone. That's how you avoid fake outs and avoid bad trades. So what am I looking for here on Tuesday regarding NVIDIA? Well, as I always say, the break and retest happens on every time frame. The higher the time frame, the better. So you can see clear support 218. What did we do on Friday? We finally broke it. Very strong displacement candle. So now what am I looking for? A pullback short off of 218. That's your break. That's your retest. So on Tuesday, I'm looking for a pop and fade off of 218. I've zoomed out on the 4-hour. I've zoomed in on the 4-hour because I'm currently on the daily. Didn't really see any key levels there. So I'm not going to force a key level. I know that is a pretty big gap in between 218 and 207. For those who trade off previous day high and lows and pre-market levels, you can mark those out. But I didn't find a higher time frame key level in between 218 and 207. So for me, there's just no level. Very, very simple there. But, if this can set up early in the week and this market wants to pull back at the top of the range here like it's already rejecting, right, that's a good shot. You play Friday's contract, you manage that correctly. That's a decent trade. That's a very big RR, right? 218 down to 207. We can definitely see that. We also broke 207, and we still need to retest this. You can see it was support. We broke it. We did not turn it into, it was resistance. We broke it. We consolidated, turned it to support. We fell back under, and we got that big blow off top, big breakout, made all-time highs. We still have to retest this. So this is unmitigated liquidity here around this 207. So price should naturally gravitate towards 207 if we want to stay heavy under this 218. So on Tuesday, you can see here, I'm looking for a pop and fade off of 218. Very clean chart here. Very clean key levels. You can see clearly being respected. That's all I'm looking for. If that doesn't set up, like I said, for those who trade off of previous day high and lows, you can definitely look to scout and look for a pop and fade off of your previous day low, that 214.80, right? Pop and fade, looking for that continuation lower down to 207. But I want to trade at that higher time frame key level. You can see here being respected very well. Support on Thursday, turn into resistance on Friday. Very, very simple. So that's what I'm looking for. As of right now, a lot of these names are pretty heavy during after hours, so I wouldn't be surprised if we gap down going into the week. But be cautious, right? All the amateurs chase the downside. Don't get caught in that morning squeeze, and then all these gaps start to get filled. Don't forget, SPY Qs, it is consolidating, but it's still very, very bullish on the higher time frame. We are not bearish bias yet on this overall market. So that's the game plan on Tuesday. Keep an eye out on 218. And also, if we stay under 218, like I said here on the weekly, the bears are pretty much in control. Because now we're finally breaking, under these last 2 weeks here on NVIDIA. You can see we had an inside bar week last week. So if we stay heavy under 218, you can already see we're gapping down under the previous day low. The Bears are in control. There's no doubt, right? Don't marry a bias. The Bears are definitely in control. So it's already completed its objective. It made all-time highs. It had earnings. We'll see. But as of right now, looks pretty heavy. So that's what we're going to be watching here on NVIDIA. AMD, not a name that I've been touching and not a name that I'm going to be touching anytime soon. So this name is just very strong still. AMD is still very, very, very strong. You can see we just made all-time highs this past week, which is wild. We've looking at this chart doesn't even look real, right? We've had what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of the last 8 weeks, we've only had one down close red candle on the weekly, which is insane. So we know AMD strong. We drew this up beautifully. So if you guys were able to catch that, kudos to you. Something I noticed here is there was a bull flag setting up, and you ended up getting that on the week. On the higher time frame on this daily. Obviously, it's a very bullish name, so you wouldn't be looking to short it. You had a peak and fell under a key level. For those who know, not to chase that short because we're still very bullish. You avoided that fake out. We ended up getting that reclaim entry. We broke that and then solid. So the A+ shot to get long on AMD was at 421. Now the IV's high. The contracts are crazy high. The spreads are not really ideal. So haven't really been touching this name. What are you looking for on AMD? Well, now you're just looking for 458.80 to turn into support. It's really what you're looking for at this point. If we fall under 458.80, Maybe you can expect a pullback to 421. Still not a name I would really look to short. It's so strong on the weekly, on the daily, on Friday, right? I mean, this is the last daily candles on Friday. It just made all-time highs. So, like I said, you don't want to be that trader trying to time the highs. Now, if you do fall under 458 and the market's pulling back, and you can see that it's in sync with the market, take your shot. Break and retest to the downside under 458.80. Stop loss right above 458.80. So that's a valid shot. I don't like it, but you wouldn't be wrong to take it if the context is there. I would just see, can we hold, 458.80 as a support? You can see it was resistance. We couldn't get above it. We finally got above it. Can we hold it as support and move higher? That's how I would look at it. Other than that, I'm pretty much hands off on this name. It's kind of wild. I'll go here really quick. Let's go to AMD. 29th. I mean, look at that. It's insane. It's insane. Like the spread, it's not even, yeah, I'm not touching that. But to each your own, to each their own. For some who do, by all means, just keep an eye out on this 458.80 on Tuesday. See if we pull back, hold it as support. If so, you can look for your shot to go long, targeting the previous day high, which is now all-time highs. Or if the market's rejecting the top of the range and AMD is following, then you can look for your break and retest under 458.80. It's a good confluence here. You're under the previous day low, and you're breaking under a higher time frame key level. And it's in sync with the market, which means price is likely to continue lower. So you just got to learn and know how to think in probabilities if you want to take that shot to the downside. Apple, really nothing here for me on Apple. Let's go here on the weekly. Another name that's just ripping. Another name that's just ripping. I mean, look at this. You haven't had a single down close candle in like roughly 7 to 8 weeks on Apple. It's insane. Apple's just very strong. We haven't had an inside bar week on this name in some time. How do you know a name is trending? The previous week candle just keeps closing above the previous week's candle. Right? It's just a very, very strong name right now. You can see this thing is stair stepping. This thing is stair stepping higher. Right? We broke above this previous week's candle. We broke above this previous week's high. 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 We haven't had an inside bar week, so buyers are 100% in control here, and it's quite crazy. Apple didn't do anything. Apple didn't do anything for the year, right? Ignore all this because this has already happened. This is all Apple did this year. It was just consolidating. It was just consolidating. We would push up. We started the year off very bearish, as you can see. Buyers found some support. We pushed up again. We pulled back. You can see 4 weeks in a row here. Buyers found support, and then we finally got that push all the way up, and it's just been off to the races. So Apple's very bullish. You can see here, still very strong on Fridays, made all-time highs, which is wild. It's actually been relatively strong compared to the market, if you've noticed that pattern. Apple as well, right? It consolidated, which is normal, in a trending name, and then it got its next leg higher. So all it did was sit in between 301, 295, and then you got that breakout. So what are you looking for here on Apple? Because there's no more higher time frame key levels. Well, now you're just looking for 301 that was resistance, and you got that breakout to turn into support. So the only thing I see here on Apple that I like is a pullback long off of 301. Very simple there. You can see that would still be a very nice trend. Remember, the trend is your friend, the dip is your best friend. Or for those who are looking for trades, you can look for your break and retest above the previous day high, which is now all-time highs, and look for that continuation higher. But this, I would wait for that, or I would wait for that 295 or 301 here on Apple. You're really just looking to buy the dip on this name. Amazon. So Amazon, it had a nasty grind, slow pullback. I'll get to that. Let's go here on the weekly. So you can see, Amazon, it made its all-time highs. After that, 2 weeks after that, it's just been pulling back here. But we can definitely see this 656 is a very strong level. Very strong level, very strong level, very strong level. As of right now, you can see buyers have really defended this very aggressively, this 256. This past week, what happened? What does this week mean? That means price did pull back in the 256. Buyers stepped up very aggressively, and we pushed this thing back up. So what am I looking for here on Amazon coming into the week? Well, we know we're going to treat 269.95 and 261 as a no trade zone, right? Anything in here, pretty much hands off. You're in a range, you're in a channel. Something that I do see here that's already kind of happened, but is still, in play, is you did end up getting this bull flag, right? Once you got right back over 261, bottom of the range, top of the range. So now you're really just looking for this. Break and retest over 269.95. You can see it push up into 274 and then all-time highs. So still solid, right? You already got that bull flag break. This thing is still intact to the upside. We have not broken structure on the higher time frame like I just showed you. If you want to go short on Amazon, like I just showed you on the weekly, you got to wait for this to break. 256. It's definitely a breaker structure. Gotta wait for that to break. That is a very strong level on the weekly. Buyers are defending this very strong. You can see here we've got a hammer stick candle off of that. So wait for that. Other than that, I would either look really for that. You can see all you got to do is look left. There are sellers sitting up here. This 269.95. You might as well round that to 270. But wait for the break and retest above that, right? You're also getting over the previous week's high. You're also getting over the previous day high. Those are great confluences. That price wants to continue higher. And like I said here, you got this bull flag setting up. But other than that, if Amazon just decides to sit in between 269.95 and 261, I'm pretty much just hands off here, treating this as a no trade zone. That's how I would play it. Like I said, if you want to go shorts, look under 256. Microsoft, there's really nothing here. Microsoft is just one. I don't even trade this name much, to be honest, nor do I trade Amazon too much. They just don't move that well on the underlying, in my opinion. They were really hot names around COVID, but now just not as liquid to trade. So that being said, really nothing here. Really nothing here. On Microsoft, I would be patient and just let my trade come to me. I would wait for this to break over 434 for longs or under 398 for shorts. If you go here on the weekly time frame, you can see clear as daylight. Does this look like a name that's trending higher or lower? Does this look like a high probability name to trade? No, it does not. Right? It's been 4 or 5 weeks just sitting in a range, just doing nothing. So mark your key levels, set an alert, and just wait for a range break to either side on Microsoft. Other than that, there's pretty much nothing here for me. Palantir, another name that's pretty much doing nothing. Let's go here on the weekly. So I wanted to break this down a little bit more thoroughly here. I have this 149 here, but I'm going to give you an example on how you avoid fake outs. Sorry, I need to draw that. So you can see here, 120, there's a couple of ways you can go about this. You can either play the pullback long at the bottom of the range. As I say, history likes to repeat itself. So far this year, right? Forget about last year. I don't care about last year. Let's focus on this year. There's no doubt we can see with our own two eyes. This is our proof. It's not what I'm telling you. This is what we see with our own two eyes. There are very strong buyers sitting at 126. That was 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. Buyers defended very well 126 and pushed us back up into the top of the range. We can see very well there's very strong sellers sitting at 162, right? And then we push right back down. You can see a buyer stepped up again, strong buyer stepped up again, pushed this thing back up. We pulled back, and now you see buyers stepping up again. So a couple of ways you can go about it. As I always say, no right or wrong way to trade. Either you can look for the pullback long, get an in at the bottom of the range, swing trade that, wait till we get to the top of the range. That's solid. You can see this bull flag setting up here as well. That looks like a really good shot. Or you can just be patient and let the range break and let your trade come to you. Break and retest above, break and retest under. Very simple there. Very simple. So I have this 149 here. Because it is a weekly level, has some reactions. You can look to take a trade off that if you want, or you can just do this, remove it, and now look at that. Right? Now you just wait for your trade to come to you. But I will say, I do see this bull flag setting up here. There's no doubt. We all see it. That bull flag is setting up here on the weekly. We see that buyers are stepping up here at 126. So maybe if you can get a deeper pullback here at 126 and look to go long, that is a very solid shot. You getting this bull flag break, you got a straight shot up into 162. That looks really good. Or, like I said, just wait for the break and retest under 126. Wait for that proper displacement. That's showing you that clear sign that sellers are in control because this is a very strong level being defended. Or just wait for the break and retest above 162. Other than that, Palantir is really not doing much. You can see here on the weekly, it's just consolidating. So your best high probability shots is going to be at the top of the range, whether you go long or short, or at the bottom of the range, whether you go long or short. And then, what else am I missing? That's pretty much it. Yeah, pretty much it. I hope this helps. Hope you guys stay safe. Remember, let your trades come to you. Understand, what's going on. You got to be able to adapt. Don't step on the gas. We just went across these names. You can see, right, SPY. Let's go here on the 1 hour. Sitting in a channel. Qs, sitting in a channel. Right, NVIDIA, it was sitting in a channel. Let's see if we can turn this support into resistance. Look for that pop and fade off the 218. What else is in a range? Microsoft, there's nothing there, right? Less is more, guys. And then you can see Palantir, there's nothing there. Oh, Hood. So I did break down Hood. We'll see. This is 1 hour key levels. Let me go to default. Okay, yeah. So let's go to, I'll stick here on the daily. You can see Hood. It's really, it's trash. Like, to each your own. If you really want to trade Hood, I would wait for the weekly breakout. I would just wait for the 169 break and retest under that. But Hood's not really doing much. This is like a catalyst name, right? When there's news events or earnings, something like that. But really nothing going on Hood. It's sitting in a channel. Like I've said before, these are my favorite setups. I just let my trade come to me. So if I were you, I would just set an alert at 85, set an alert around 69, and then just wait for the range break to either side. But other than that, just be cautious, guys. Be patient. Understand, we're going into the week with an inside bar week with the overall market in a range. You can see here, Qs and SPY. Just be patient. Let your trade comes to you. Hope this helps. I will see you guys on the next one.